Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where we are back with another Scourge of Ghyran video, and one of 3 that we'll be dropping today. So we're going to start with this one, and this is today's video where we're focusing on the shadowy shenanigans of Morathi Khaine and Morai Heg. Just want to point out, Warhammer at it again. That is clearly Adam. They're saying it's Alex, but it's clearly Adam. But we're not here for the lore, although I am actually, funnily enough, I'm interested in what's happening here because I think, with the limited knowledge that I have, we're heading for a civil war between the 2 Daughters of Khaine factions that are emerging. Holy hell, Fulgrim looks different in AOS. Anyway, let's focus on the rules instead of the half-naked snake women. There are 2 new battle formations for the Daughters of Khaine. Coven Zealots and Arena Veterans, and both are nasty. Is Coven Zealots again building into a certain faction? The former are so driven by a higher purpose that even serious injuries are not enough to keep these frothing lunatics down. At the end of any turn, D3 models are returned to each eligible unit. That's nice. The other lot are so supernaturally quick that they gain a 5-up ward when they use a fight ability. Nice. Is that only in combat? Both options make fighting infantry-heavy armies of Daughters of Khaine a terrifying prospect. These new formations are further bolstered by a new prayer law, Blood Shadow Rites. Each of the 3 prayers deals with a subject that the Daughters of Khaine are passionate about. Moving faster, getting hit less, and stabbing their enemies real good. With Shadow Step, a unit disappears into the gloom before re-emerging somewhere nearby. Nice. Exaltation of Murder gives the unit bonuses to wound and potentially bonuses to hit if your priest is chanting enthusiastically enough. Lastly, Scath Scale covers your elves in shimmering serpent skin, making them harder to wound, and gives you modelling options if you want as well. Continuing with this priestly theme, one of the new Scourge of Ghyran War Scrolls is for Krethusa the Croneseer. I think that's pointing to something. As a practitioner of shadowy shenanigans, she not only has access to these new prayers, but also a new one of her own, Blood Ritual. This prayer has multiple possible resolutions, reducing an enemy's ward save, preventing them from using commands, or even stopping them using weapon abilities entirely. Roll high enough and all 3 apply. Oof. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, Krethusa can now call in reinforcements to do her shadowy bidding. Okay. The other new war scroll is for the Bloodwrack Shrine, which has become something of a mobile weapons platform. First, the Bloodwrack Medusa has Wizard 2, meaning she can bring twice as many spells as before. Nice. One of those spells can be Reflected Agony. The big mirror probably helps. Is it that then? It must be that. So that's faction terrain. Okay. Reflected Agony prevents enemy units from setting up within 12 inches of the shrine. Then her party piece. She stares real hard at an enemy unit, paralyzes it, and zaps it with her laser eyes. I kinda like this girl. Although she is mostly snake. So we've got our 2 war scrolls there. They sound like pretty big changes. How about we take a look? We do also have the faction pack for the Daughters of Khaine, so we'll be able to cross-reference these units too. So faction update, Daughters of Khaine battle formations. Coven Zealots, it's a once per turn army, end of any turn ability. Higher purpose. Effect to return D3 slain models to each friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry units. So it is just on probably a basic infantry, but D3 back is nice. And Arena Veterans, any combat phase ability, Graceful Illusion. Effect for the rest of this phase, friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry units have a 5-up ward until they have used a fight ability. Oh, I thought it was if they use a fight ability they gain it. Well, that's not as good. What does the article say? Oh, it does say until they use a fight ability. Did I say that? I just misunderstood. Right, okay. Maybe that's not quite as good. I don't know, I mean a 5-up ward is still nice, I guess. There's clearly a standout for me though. That D3 back is nice. Prayer Law, the Blood Shadow Rites. So our unlimited prayer is Shadow Step, goes off on a 3. Pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine priest to chant this prayer. Pick a visible friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry wholly within 12 inches of them, and that is not being picked to be the target of this prayer. This turn to be the target, then make the enchanting roll of d6. So you can only use it on 1 unit per turn. You can use the spell as many times as you have wizards for, but you can only do it to 1 unit. Okay. Effect, that target can move up to 6 inch, more movement shenanigans. It can move through the combat ranges of enemy units, that's a common thing as well, but cannot end the move in combat. If the chanting roll was an 8+, you can pick another eligible unit to be a second target. I think that's generally quite nice, but again, it builds into my theory that we're seeing so much move stuff. You haven't heard that theory yet, it'll be in a video dropping later today. Our second prayer is Scath Scale, goes off on a 3. Declare, pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine priest. To chant this prayer, pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry unit wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target, make the chanting roll of d6. Effect, until the start of your next turn, subtract 1 from wound rolls for combat attacks that target that friendly unit. If the chanting roll was 8+, until the start of your next turn, subtract 1 from the wound rolls for combat attacks that target friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry units, while they are wholly within 12 inches of this target instead. So on the 3, you get -1 to wound for 1 unit. On an 8, you get -1 to wound for any unit or infantry unit that is wholly within 12 inches. That's a nice buff. Finally, Exaltation of Murder goes off on a 4. Declare, pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine priest. To chant this prayer, pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry unit wholly within 12 inches of them, be the target, and make a chanting roll of d6. Effect, until the start of your next turn, add 1 to the wound rolls for the target's combat attacks. In addition, if your chanting roll was a 9+, until the start of your next turn, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the target's melee weapons. That one's not bad actually, I like both of them, the 4 and the 9. So +1 to wound, or +1 to wound and +1 attacks, depending on how long you want to wait. The prayer law sounds pretty nice. The standard prayer is quite easy to get off, but then the bonus one's slightly harder, but they sound pretty good. Coven Zealots is fun. And our first war scroll, Krethusa the Croneseer, 12-inch move with a 5-up save and a 6-up ward. Melee weapons, the Staff of Morai Heg, crit auto wound, nice. 5 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, rend 1 d3 damage. An enemy hero phase ability, the Croneseer, effect, give this unit d3 ritual points. Another hero phase ability, so this is her prayer, Blood Ritual. Declare, pick a friendly visible Daughters of Khaine elf infantry or cavalry unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. Effect, pick one of the following effects to apply until the start of your next turn. Prophecy of Tyranny, enemy units cannot use commands while they are in combat with the target. Prophecy of Shelter, other than the companion ability, weapon abilities used by enemy units while they're in combat with the target have no effect. Wow. So you still get companion, but everything else is just turned off. That's nice. And Prophecy of Retribution, subtract 1 from ward rolls made for damage points inflicted by the target's combat attack. That's quite strong as well. And if the chanting roll was a 9-up, all of the above effects apply. So on a 9 you just get all 3, you don't have to pick. She'll probably be quite expensive, won't she? And then we have a once per battle movement phase ability, Gift of Foresight, 1 command point. Declare, pick a friendly Daughters of Khaine elf infantry or cavalry unit that has been destroyed to be the target. Effect, set up a replacement unit with half the number of models from the target unit rounding up wholly within 9 inches of a battlefield edge and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. A 1 CP, little bit of extra heal. It's not bad. Once per battle, it doesn't seem that strong, but it's not bad. Keywords, Unique Hero, Priest 2, Infantry Fly, Ward 6 up, Order, Daughters of Khaine, and Elf. How are they Order? Honestly, these elves just run around gutting everything and bathing in blood. Like, that's not Order. She is 240 points and regiment options 0 to 1, Coven Matriarch, any elf. I don't mind that war scroll. Yes, 240 points is a chunk, but you also gain quite a lot. That, her prayer, and she can do 2 prayers, so this and one of the other ones. If you can get that off on a 9, really nice. For command point, you can bring half a unit back. I don't think she's bad. Let's have a look at her standard war scroll. So, standard faction pack, Krethusa the Croneseer, 12-inch move, 5-up save with a 6-up ward, 6 health, 2 control, Staff of Morai Heg, 4 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, 1 rend d3 damage, no abilities. She has 2 abilities, so once per turn, any hero phase, Burnt Offerings. Declare, if this unit is within the combat range of a friendly Cauldron of Blood, pick a visible friendly Daughters of Khaine elf, non-hero infantry unit, wholly within 18 inches of this unit to be the target. Effect, Roll a dice. On a 2-up, pick one of the following effects to apply to the target. So quite frequently, Prophecy of Silence. Until the start of your next turn, enemy units cannot use commands while they're in combat with this target. Sound familiar? Prophecy of Dark Wings. The target can make a normal move ability as if it were your movement phase. That unit counts as having used a run ability this turn, so you get your extra move but you can't charge. And Prophecy of Reclamation. For the rest of the turn, while the target is contesting an objective, subtract 10 from the control scores of enemy units contesting that objective that do not have the hero or monster keyword. Interesting that that's gone, but okay. And then her prayer is, again, hero phase, Murder of Crows goes off on a 4. Declare pick a friendly, visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit to be the target, then make a chanting roll of d6. Effect: roll a d3. If the chanting roll was 8+, roll a d6 instead. Inflict that amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. In addition, if the roll exceeds the target's health characteristic, subtract 1 from hit rolls for the target's attacks until the start of your next turn. Not a bad prayer. Keywords: unique, hero, priest 1, inventory fly, ward 6-up, order, Daughters of Khaine, and elf. And if you wanted to run the Croneseer, on that datasheet, she is 150 points. Hell of a difference. Okay, let's compare. So for an extra 90 points, you gain 1 extra attack, which is going to make a huge difference. You gain an extra prayer, which is quite strong. Your prayer is very similar to her ability, so effectively she's losing that once. I suppose it wasn't guaranteed, but it's fairly guaranteed to go off on a 2-up. So instead of picking one of those negatives for targets, you gain the ability to do debuffs, potentially all 3. She gains a half unit heal. She gains a half unit revive. She gains ritual points. There's a massive discrepancy. 90 points for Priest 2 and very different abilities. She's lost Murder of Crows, which is her mortal wound damage output, which is a big loss. She's lost her friendly move ability. She's lost her -10 control score ability. This all just further builds into what I said in the Ideneth Deepkin video that isn't out yet. I know that doesn't help. Watch the Ideneth Deepkin video and then come back to me on this one, or just comment on the Ideneth Deepkin video, whichever one you see. There's big changes coming to AOS with this general handbook. Not necessarily in how the game plays, but in how you play the game, I think. Heroes are being treated differently. So she's lost an amount of mortal wound output, but she's gained debuffing enemy units in different ways. She's gained an attack, she's gained Priest 2, she's gained ritual points. So ritual points, I don't use prayers, I run Dark Oath, I just run at things and hit them with swords. So I've not really looked at magic and I've not really looked at prayers because I don't think Dark Oath have access to prayers. I'm fairly certain they don't. But ritual points are for prayers. That's my bad. That's me being an idiot and not knowing the full rules. Right, so actually, that is a huge gain. D3, I mean, it could be 1, but that is going to help you get this off at a higher level. But is that worth 90 points? No, it's not. That points difference is huge. And her revive ability is only half the unit, and it costs you a CP, so it's not like it's free for a once per battle. Something's going on here. I am sure that they are changing all of the profiles. I think whenever their battle tome comes out, the Croneseer's profile is going to be more similar to this, because that 90 points change is massive. I don't think it's worth it from what I'm seeing here. I think the new War Scroll is better, but it's not 90 points better. Let me know what you think. Right, we have our second one, the Bloodwrack Shrine. It is a 6-inch move with a 4-up save, 6-up ward, 12 health, 5 control. We have a ranged attack, the Bloodwrack Gaze, shooting combat, crit 2 hits, nice. Range 15 inches, 4 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, 2 rend, 3 damage. That's pretty good. Melee weapons, Medusa's Spear and Shrine Keeper's Goad Staves. 8 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, 1 rend, 2 damage. Not too bad. 2 abilities. First one is a hero phase ability, goes off, this is a spell, goes off on 5. Reflected Agony. Declare, make a casting roll of 2d6. On a 5, you're probably going to be getting off more than not. Effect until the start of your next turn. Enemy units and enemy manifestations cannot be set up within 12 inches of this unit. Quite a nice deep strike denial there, that's pretty good. Keyword spell. And a once per turn army, any shooting phase ability, Racking Gaze. Declare pick a visible enemy unit within 15 inches of this unit to be the target. Effect roll a dice. If the roll is equal to or less than enemy unit's health characteristic for the rest of the phase, you can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made by this unit that target that enemy unit. That's interesting. That's very interesting ability. I don't think I've seen anything like that before, but I don't think I've seen any abilities like that before. But that's very strong, just rerolling failed hits. Yeah, I like that. Keywords, Hero War Machine, Wizard 2. Wizard 2, nice. Ward 6 up, Order, Daughters of Khaine, and Bluesky. And that War Scroll has a unit price of 230 points. Regiment options, 0-1 covered matriarch, any Daughters of Khaine. Again, for the price, I don't think that's too bad. You've got quite a lot of things that you can do. Wizard 2 is good. It's a nice spell. Racking Gaze is nice. Yeah, on the whole, that's quite nice. So now let's take a look at the standard faction pack variant of that War Scroll. So the Bloodwrack Shrine, 6-inch move, 4-up save, 6-up ward, 12 health, 5 control. Ranged weapon, the Bloodwrack Stare, 12-inch range, so that's less. 1 attack, hits on 2s, wound when damaged, see below, and then shoot in combat. So what would that be then? That would be the ability Passive Bloodwrack Stare. Effect, each time this unit attacks with its Bloodwrack Stare, if the attack scores a hit, roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in that target unit. For each 5-up, inflict 1 mortal damage on that unit. You cannot pick the same enemy unit to be targeted with attacks made by a Bloodwrack Stare more than once per phase. Okay, so that's very different. Melee weapons, Bloodwrack Spear and Whisper Claw, 5 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, 1 rend 2 damage. And then the Shrine Keeper's Goad Staves, 6 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, no rend 1 damage. Very big changes then. Hero phase ability, Aura of Agony. Declare pick up to 3 different enemy units within 9 inches of this unit to be the targets. Effect, roll a d3 for each target. On a 2-up, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. We're seeing a theme here. And an any charge phase ability, Barbed Impact. Declare if this unit charged this phase, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of it to be the target. Effect, roll a d3. On a 2-up, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. Very focused on mortal damage across the entirety of what that does then, isn't it, ability-wise? We've talked about the Stare. Keywords, Hero, War Machine, Wizard 1, Ward 6-up, Order, Daughters of Khaine, and Bluesky. Very different War Scroll, and that War Scroll is 200 points. There's some real big changes for, what was it, 30 point difference? So your ranged weapon, I would say, has got better. Still has shooting combat, but it's now 4 attacks at a 15-inch range instead of 12. It hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, 2 rend, 3 damage. Crit 2 hits, which is good. It's not doing mortal damage on a 5-up, but you are able to just do it to the same unit if you have multiple ones of these. Melee weapons, they've taken a hit, but actually have they? You've lost your crap attack and you've gained 3 attacks on the better attack, so you're probably about the same. Reflected Agony gives you Deep Strike Denial, which is really nice. You lose a lot of mortal damage output, but you gain a lot more shenanigans. I suppose it depends what you want the shrine to do. I quite like the Scourge of Ghyran one. I think that's got more use, but you're probably not going to be taking loads of them. The Croneseer War Scroll, between the two of them, confuses me completely because they're so different in what they're doing, but there's such a big points difference. But for an extra 30 points on the shrine to get a unit that will debuff enemy units and Wizard 2 instead of Wizard 1, I think that's a straight up upgrade if that's what you want it to do, if you want it to guard your back lines. If you want something to be more aggressive, you go with the other one. But there is no reference to mortal damage. Crit 2 hits, okay, but there's no reference to mortal damage, whereas in the original faction scroll, there's a lot of mortal damage there. So again, I think we're moving away, and I said this in a video you guys haven't seen yet, but that video will be up later today, I promise. But it looks like we're moving away from, are we? Because 4 attacks, 2 rend, 3 damage from the gaze is just better than on a 5-up you might do some mortal wounds. I think what we're seeing is a very different philosophy towards units, certainly hero units, but I think units in general, and a different philosophy in how the games play. I think this general handbook is going to be huge. And we're not going to get any answers until the preview stuff goes out, but I would expect this General's Handbook is really going to shake things up. Okay, so I like the Shrine. I think that's a pretty good unit. It's a very nice, different way of using it compared to the original War Scroll. I don't know what's going on with the Croneseer. On the whole, for the War Scroll, I think it's pretty good, but it's very expensive. Maybe, but you are getting prayers off easier. I think the prayer lore, the new prayer lore, is pretty nice. You've got some fun stuff in there, and I think one of the battle formations is really nice. The other one, yeah, my brain probably just hasn't figured out how best to use it. But they're both probably quite good. I think this is another faction update that actually changes how you would want to build and run your army. It obviously wants you to build into inventory. Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to have more questions than answers with what this second year of AOS is going to be. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Daughters of Khaine players, let me know what you think of this new stuff. I'm really interested to know what you think of the Croneseer. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.